Remembrance of the death and crucifixion of our Lord Jesus Christ. Good afternoon and welcome to this edition of the Pulse here on Joy News. And this afternoon, Tema General Hospital denies claims a baby died there Tuesday night due to doomsday, as questions continue to be asked about a viral video which sought to suggest so. Also on the Pulse today, pregnant woman whose ear was allegedly chopped off by a policeman at the Tema Community Aid Station petitions the IGP demanding thorough investigation and justice. The Pulse is brought to you by Global Communities Digilu, affordable, safe sanitation for all. We're live on channel 421 on DSTV, GoTV 125. You can follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and myjoyonline.com. My name is Elton Grobe. And let's start from the power sector, because all of us have been waiting to hear from the Public Utility Regulatory Commission regarding some directives they issued. Yesterday, or 2 days ago, the PURC updated the public on some demands they made on ECG and what ECG has done so far. And today, we also been expecting the PURC to update the public on ECG's, reaction to the other directive they provided, which expired yesterday. And let me just go over, let me just run through some of the directive that ECG was expected to provide the PURC that expired yesterday. Detailed incident reports of power outages for the period January 1, 2024 to date. The volume of load curtailed for each power outage incident, energy not served, and number of customers affected, segregated into the various customer categories, and then copies of ECG publication informing the general public of power outages from January 1, 2024 today. Now the question is, what is the latest on this, and has the ECG met this particular directive that was issued by the Public Utility Regulatory Commission? Let me bring in Dr. Eric Obute from the PURC and try and see if we can get some answers to this very important question that everybody is interested in. Dr. Obute, good afternoon. Welcome to the Pulse here on Joy News.
Good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm doing well, and it's a pleasure to have you here. So, key issues. One of them, incident report of power outages, volume of load curtailed for each power outages, copies of ECG's publication from the general public of power outages from January 1 to 2024. Do we have response from the ECG?
Yes, we do have some responses. We just calculated some responses that we had from ECG. They have complied with some of the items, others did not comply with.
So when you said
the time of the deadline.
So which ones have been complied with, and what are the ones outstanding?
Well, they've complied with the cash waterfall mechanism. You know, the last time we gave you an update, we said update was from A to E, the process, and they've gone through the entire process. So with the cash waterfall mechanism, they plan the payment. Now we are trying to verify if the institutions have had the payment. So that's where we are now. That's the last stage, point E. Now we've got information that they've complied with all the 4 steps. So the last step, which is just the verification, that's what we are doing now. So and for the other order, which is order 2,
right,
we're speaking about 2.2C, 2.3E, and 2.3F. The 2.2C, we have complied, and we are now in the process of verifying if whatever they sent to us, the data that they sent to us, is us.
So that's what we are. Right. So, Dr. Bute, so 2.2C is copies of ECG publication informing the general public of power outages from January to 2024. This is what you say they've complied with.
Exactly. So that one, they set us data on that one. So we have a link indicating exactly what we received from ECG. So we are now in the process of verifying that.
What about the volume of load curtailed for each power outage and energy not served and number of customers affected segregated into the various customer categories?
That we have not received any data to that effect.
And then detailed incident reports of power outages for the period of January 1, 2024 to date.
Yeah, we've not received data for that. So maybe the next step is to wait until April 2nd, which is the final deadline for complying with all the orders that we've given to them. And then the decision can be taken by the board.
So, Dr. Buta, again, what about the order 2.1 and 2.3? What about these ones?
Order 2.1 states
It's copies of all government directive to ECG for the purchase of fuel for power generation from August last year to date.
Those ones, the deadline for submitting those ones is April 2nd.
Will be April 2nd.
You know, we have 3 lines of reporting. The deadlines are 3. One was March 25. The other one is March 27, which ended yesterday. And then the last one is April 2nd. So for all that has not been submitted, we expect that to be submitted by April 2nd. This is the final date for submission.
So the deadline, I mean, what we are talking about as far as yesterday's deadline is concerned, is about the detailed incident report, volume of load curtailed, and the copies of the publication.
I don't have the document right in front of me now, but if you look at 2.3E, we just calculated something right now, but if you look at 2.3E and 2.3F, what they are supply is in the order 2.
Right. So therefore, we'll have to wait for April 2 to get information on the outages attributed to ECG, to the 630 overloaded transformers during peak time, and the fuel issue.
Yes, those ones will be given to us by April 2nd.
Did ECG provide reasons why it was unable to provide response to 2.1A, 2.2A and B, which is very important for a lot of people who are watching us this afternoon?
No, Nelson, I don't know, but I'm saying that there are different layers of deadlines. Mm-hmm. The one we just sent out is to do with 2.2C, 2.3E, and 2.3F, and those deadlines expired yesterday. And that you are supposed to comply with. So I don't know about the 2.1 you are talking of. All others are supposed to be reported by April 2nd. So if you don't find 2.1 in there, that means that 2.1, the deadline is April 2nd.
So Dr. the 2.3E, you were expecting it yesterday, for example, 2.3E.
Exactly.
Load management timetable corresponding with the timelines and duration for each transformer injection.
Yes, and that is not complied with.
Is there a reason why?
No reason has been given yet.
What do you make of this? I mean, you were demanding answers. They've chosen to give you response to some, and they've left some out.
Well, it's not for me to say whether they've chosen to give us some or choosing to leave some out. It is for the commissioner to take a decision on the way forward. This is the commission document. I work for the commission. So the board of directors will give us the way forward, and then we'll go by that.
The statement that you issued to the press regarding the compliance with the first order, D was upon receipt of the approved revenue allocation percentage issued by the standing committee, ECG shall effect payment to the energy sector players along the electricity value chain. Your response, as you provided us in that press statement, was that it was in progress. Is there a finality to this?
Well, I just stated that we've complied with all of that. That's order 1. We've complied with all of that.
The general public, I mean, appears to be living in a state of uncertainty regarding when they will have light and when the light will go off. This, response from the EC would have provided some clarity on it. But as a regulator, how concerned are you with the outages that we are not getting any kind of explanation from the ECG, explanation especially as whether we should plan our life towards a certain directive?
The Commission is very concerned, very, very concerned. That's how come this order was issued to ECG. So if anything does not go well, perhaps go back to the Commission and report that found out in the Commission tell us the next line of action.
So how long are you going to wait to get a response to the ones that expired yesterday, but yet there's no action on them?
Well, it is up to the Commission to tell us whether we take immediate action on that one now or we wait until April 2nd when everything is supposed to be submitted to the Commission.
All right. Dr. Rikobuta, thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
And of course, the news this afternoon is that the ECG failed to comply with some demands made by the Electricity Company of Ghana. Let me run into what the PURC expected of the ECG yesterday. Yesterday was the expiration time, as we speak today, Thursday, 28th of March, ECG was only able to provide answers to some questions, but was unable to provide answers to some other questions. The ECG was asked to provide detailed incident report of power outages for the period January 1, 2024 to date, and also volume of load curtailed for each power outage incident, energy not served, and number of customers affected, segregated into various customers categories. ECG has yet to provide answers to these two questions. What ECG provided PURC, as we just got word from Dr. Bute, is that they have provided copies of ECG publication informing the general public of power outages from January 1, 2024 to date. ECG is also yet to provide answers on load management timetable corresponding with the timelines and duration for each transformer injection. So these are the outstanding matters that PURC is waiting on ECG to do. And as we heard Dr. Bute say, ECG did not provide any reason why they were unable to provide the answers that were demanded by the PURC. And of course, we'll stay with this matter and bring you more as we move on. But let's move away from power to the health sector. But anyway, power related, because it is the intermittent power outage that has brought about this matter. Now, a pregnant woman, Judith Yakuma, whose ear was allegedly chopped off during interrogation by a policeman at the Tema Community Aid Station, has petitioned the Inspector General of Police demanding thorough investigation and justice. According to the petition, the incident occurred when she accompanied a friend to the community to one police station. However, she was arrested and subsequently transferred to the Community 8 police station. It was alleged that she resembled a woman captured in the CCTV footage related to a robbery incident that had occurred in Tema a few weeks ago. Let's get on Zoom now and speak to lawyer of the victim, Andrew Kate. Mr. Kate, good afternoon. Welcome to the Pulse.
And good afternoon to all your listeners and viewers.
I mean, this will sound as quite bizarre. I mean, the way things turned out for your client at the police station. What can you tell us exactly happened as far as the briefing you had from your client?
I mean, as you rightly described it, the facts are most bizarre and defy every principle of modern policing. It's quite strange. But the facts as described by my client is that on February 29th, 2024, she was with her boyfriend when her boyfriend was picked up by the Ghana police for ostensibly engaging in a brawl. So I think he was engaged in a certain fight. And he was taken to the Community 1 police station. A good friend as she is, she decided to follow up voluntarily on her own, willingly to check, on her boyfriend. She gets there and after being on the presence of the police for a few minutes, was invited to come and sit behind the police counter. At this point, she was still wondering what was happening. Nobody communicated anything to her. A couple of minutes after, one detective corporal, Clement Suputo, picks her up and sends her to the Community 8 police station, apparently to interrogate her on certain matters. According to my client, in the course of the interrogation, he asked her whether she knows anybody by name. He mentioned a certain name. I think he's a person of interest to the police. And she denied that she has no association with such a person. She doesn't know him from anywhere. Because of his insistence on the fact that she knows him, she clipped her ear with a metallic perforator. I don't know if you have seen one before, but it's like a metallic pair of pliers, and pulled off a part of the ear. And she started bleeding heavily. Now, the interesting part was that instead of rushing her to the hospital, he delayed, took some time, and until after intervention from a superior officer and that police officer, he took her to a police clinic, whose facilities obviously could not take care of such a situation. She was brought back, and then now, after the clinic, she was brought back to Community 8, and then he confronts her with an allegation of robbery. According to him, he had a certain CCTV footage of a robbery incident that occurred in Tema a couple of weeks before. And according to him, she looked just like somebody in the video. And so he writes a confession statement and possibly extracts, her thumbprint. to confess to being involved in an armed robbery, failing which, according to him, he would have chopped off the second ear.
So, counsel, this enhanced interrogation happened after, again, she was taken through the another stage where she was made to, whether she likes it or not, confirm her involvement in an alleged robbery, and then failure upon which was going to suffer another, enhanced interrogation.
Exactly. So after cutting off the right ear, you confront her with another allegation of being involved in a robbery, and tell her that if you don't tamper this confession statement, I'll cut off your second ear. And of course, forcibly extract the statement from her, and then quickly take her to court the following morning and charge her with the offenses of conspiracy to commit crime, to wage robbery, and for robbery. Something she knew nothing about. And my brother, it beats logic. And for me, that somebody who would apparently have committed a robbery in Tema would, after 3-4 weeks, willingly and voluntarily walk into a police station in Tema.
Join, but it seems they are discussing something else. Me, I will leave.
Hello?
Yes, counsel. I lost you briefly. So this, have you had access to this CCTV footage that puts your client in this place of robbery?
So we are yet to get to the point of disclosures where the police would have to tender in their evidence. But what is instructive is that on the 8th of March in the morning, he was sent to the what do you call it? The crime scene.
Right.
Where for an identification parade. And the security men who were on duty when the robbery incident occurred rather identified someone else as being involved in the offense and said they did not see my client there on that day. She had no involvement.
So how is your client taking this?
Of course, you can imagine the physical pain she's going through, coupled with the emotional and psychological trauma. Having your ear chopped off, it's no mean. Yeah, it's nothing to smile about.
And we understand that she's already pregnant.
My brother, as we speak, she's probably about 2 months gone. At the time, about 3-4 weeks pregnant. And the police knew this. And we even have issues with that because they held on to her medical records. It had to take a lot of prodding, a lot of pushing before they released her own medical records to her to enable us to apply to the courts for a variation of her bail condition. She spent close to 4 weeks, 4 weeks else in this condition.
Right. So you have indicated that you want to take this matter up with the IGP and demand investigation, and then want justice. Yeah. Meaning, what, you file a formal complaint with the police?
Yes, I have. So last week Friday, I submitted a letter to the IG, copied to relevant officers, including the Director General of Police Service, Police Professional Standards Bureau, the Director General of PID, and of course, I even had to copy the Attorney General and the Director of Public Prosecutions, because of course, the prosecutorial powers exercised by the police are borrowed power from the Attorney General. So I felt it was relevant for the Attorney General to know the kind of interrogation and prosecution that the Ghana Police Service was engaging in respect of my client.
And as we speak, is there any response from the IG's office?
I'm yet to get a response. Even prior to that, I had written to the Tema Regional Commander. I had written to the clinic where she was sent to seek medical attention when the ear was chopped off. I'm yet to get responses. And I'm hoping that as soon as possible, they would react.
But what has been the Tema Police posture in all of this? Are you getting the needed cooperation to get to the bottom of this matter?
So, the usual thing is that everybody is, maybe for want of a better word, nobody wants to commit himself or herself. So you go to the investigator who may say, okay, you have to speak to this person. The station officer will say, speak with the crime officer. Everybody is passing the baton to somebody. And that is what pushed me to write to the IG immediately as I did, because obviously nobody wants to take responsibility.
And do you intend to seek legal redress on this matter? This is very interesting because this is coming at a time. Yesterday, I had a conversation with the Deputy Attorney General on the amended contract law, and where there's a provision that says that public officers, like the police, if they go beyond their mandate, and then the state is made to pay judgment debt because of their actions and inactions, they may the state will have to now force these officers whose action led to the state paying judgment debt to refund the money that the state paid.
I mean, clearly, you see, for me, first of all, this incident exposes a yawning gap in our criminal justice system, particularly with regards to interrogation and prosecution. Because, of course, the police is very relevant in the chain. The police is responsible for conducting investigation, putting facts together, and for prosecution to begin. And so to extract a confession statement through such crude and very bestial means is obviously one that cannot be countenanced, especially for an officer who has been trained with our taxes and is being paid with our taxes. Definitely we would have to seek redress for our client, whose right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty by a competent court of jurisdiction has been breached, whose right to basic health has been breached, whose right to dignity has been breached. I don't see many other options available. But we are hoping that the Ghana Police Service will be swift in their actions and to allow probably an amicable resolution of the matters that have been raised.
And my final question will be, is the police still pursuing this alleged charge of robbery against your client, or they've dropped it?
We are returning to court for the substantive matter to continue on the 25th of April. So I probably have another 1 month to know what step they are deciding to take, depending on what kind of evidence they've gathered in the matter. But my brother, actually surprised, on the day, I think on the 1st of March, the others who had been arrested, so they had arrested the people who were supposed, there's a car sprayer. And they said they don't know my client from anywhere. She was not part of those who brought the car to them. And clearly nothing to do with this matter. Just probably an excited policeman who wanted to close a docket quickly for a promotion or for a pat at his back.
Counsel, thank you very much. We'll follow keenly the development on this story, and then when you go to court the next time, we'll find out response from the IGP and your next line of action. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
Grateful, sir. Thank you.
Right. So that's a lawyer for a woman whose ear was chopped off by a police officer under the claims that the woman resembles somebody who is involved in robbery. And as you heard the lawyer said, they petitioned the IGP and waiting for the IGP to respond to this matter. But let's stay in Tema, because the Tema General Hospital has refuted claims that the baby died on Tuesday, March 24, when the lights at the facility went off after a general power outage. A video which has since gone viral on social media sought to suggest that a mother lost her newborn baby at the neonatal intensive care unit of the Tema General Hospital due to the power disruption. Now, in a press statement, the hospital acknowledged that the lights did indeed go off, but was restored within 2 hours. Here is a statement that came through from the hospital, and part of it reads that the incident happened on Tuesday, 26 March 2024, when the power from the national grid was interrupted and the facility was relying on the power plant. The dedicated generator set to the neonatal intensive care unit tripped off for a short period, and the hospital's electricians worked to restore power to the unit until the national grid was restored. It must be emphasized, according to that, the power was restored within 2 hours by the electricians at the facility. It is worth noting that no lives were lost as a result of this power outage. The Tema General Hospital assures the general public that the facility will continue to put the health and safety of its patients at the core of its business. And that's how the statement ended. So what really happened? Let me bring in Dr. Akosua Sapon, Dr. Akosua Ajewa Owusu Sapon for more on this matter. And she's the Regional Director of Health. Dr. Sapon, you're welcome to the pause.
Thank you.
And your statement is quite clear and emphatic that there was no death as far as the power outage is concerned.
Yeah, thank you and good afternoon. Yes, as you rightly mentioned, on the 26th of March, there was a power outage, and then the facility, Tema General Hospital facility, generator started working at the NICU. The generator is connected to a lot of departments, including the NICU, that's Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. And as with time, the generator tripped. There was a fault. And the electricians at the hospital worked on the fault and restored the generator within a period of about 2 hours. But if you looked at the video critically, you identify that though the lights were off, the monitors were all on, and you could even hear beeping sounds. You know, with our medical equipment, it is designed, the medical equipments are designed such that when we have power outages, there will be some residual power that can take the equipment up to 3 hours or so.
Right.
Because if we don't have that in place, and assuming you are operating a patient in theater and the lights go off, you know, there is power cuts, then it's really going to affect the survival of the patients. So this system has been inbuilt in most of our equipment. So though the lights were off, the generator had also stopped working for a while, but the monitors were working, the CPAP machines were working. So every child that was already on these equipment and needed oxygen or any other form of treatment via these equipments, continue receiving the treatment, you know, for the 2-hour period that we had the outage. So no child was deprived of any form of medical care as a result of the power outage because of the residual power in our various equipments. You know. So that is the situation.
You are saying that if there has been any death at all, it cannot be attributed to, it cannot be blamed on the power outage.
Exactly. You know, in hospitals, we all visit hospitals when we are not well, and we receive care. Sometimes, you know, the condition is worse, or the condition is such that you lose the patient. You know, so in hospitals, people go and receive care. People also go and pass on. So if there is any death, hello.
Go on.
Hello.
Yes, please go on.
So if there is any death of a child or of anybody, we need to investigate to know the cause of the death. But for the power outage, the equipment that needed to support patients and needed power continuously supported the patients because of the residual power in those equipments. So attributing a death to power cuts, you know, is something that really didn't happen.
But yet you are yet to start investigation on this matter. So therefore, the conclusion may be premature as of now.
Yeah, we've started investigating, and we are requesting for post-mortem of any person that died within that period that either relatives are attributing to the power cut. No, we are requesting for a post-mortem to identify the cause of death. So the investigation is ongoing.
But doctor, I'm sure you've also seen video of a nursing mother who is claiming that her baby died in the process. Have you been in touch with this nursing mother to understand what happened?
Yes, I have seen the video, and my team at the hospital have been in touch and they have briefed me. So what we are requesting is thorough investigation, including post-mortem, to actually ascertain the situation. Until then, we can't really ascertain the death to the power outage.
Neither can you also rule it out as of now.
Well, we are waiting to get the results of the investigation and the reports of the post-mortem.
But what really is the issue with your power generator now that we cannot be certain when the power will go off and come back?
Oh, our power generators are okay. You know, we all use vehicles. And from time to time, though you maintain your vehicle, you may end up having a problem with the vehicle at a certain time. You know, so these are equipment, you know, and they are being maintained, but occasionally we have some faults. And if that happens, the goal is how do we quickly restore the equipment, you know, so that service delivery can continue. So that is the goal that we have, to have the continuous maintenance of our system and to quickly bring back any machine or equipment that develop faults so that we can continue with our work.
Tema is in the news because some people decided to put out this viral video. I don't know what your briefing is regarding the entire region. There are some people who've called into our newsroom to say that they were at this polyclinic, the lights went off, and everywhere was dark because they didn't have any standby generator. What is the general picture in terms of the Greater Accra region and how you are responding to this uncertainty with power generation?
Thank you very much. The general picture within Greater Accra region, most of our hospitals and polyclinics, the big facilities, have generator sets as backup, But looking at the kind of services that they provide, sometimes some need a bigger generator, like capacity. So they all have backups, but of course, we will still request for more generators from individuals, reputable organizations, the government, and anybody that can support us. But currently, they all have a generator sets.
And so, I mean, if I get you right, there isn't any kind of a formal communication telling you that this is the situation we are facing with power delivery, and for that reason, you should have some kind of a backup or be on the lookout in case there's a power outage and what you ought to do.
Well, the formal communications have been coming on and off, not during this period. And we also send these communications to headquarters, and they support us as and when they get these equipment. It's a continuous process. So from time to time, we get these requests, and then we also work on the request. But I know that in all our district hospitals, all of them have gen sets, generators as backup. And our polyclinics also have. Even the smaller polyclinics, we are working hard for them to also get generator sets to be able to support service delivery.
Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Sapon. She is the Greater Accra Regional Director of the Ghana Health Service. Now, there's just a new statement that just coming from the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission regarding what we are experiencing in the country, the uncertainty with power generation and when you should have it and when you are supposed to be off. Even the ECG failed to respond to this demand from the PURC. And now the PURC is saying that they've observed with keen interest the recent challenges confronting electricity distribution in Ghana with negative impact on the operations of the ECG. Now, ECG being transparent, informed customers of 360 distribution transformers being full to capacity within its operational area. And it also stated that the situation may cause blown fuses and cracked conductors during peak period. The replacement and upgrade of such transformers have been part and parcel of its operations since time immemorial, but it has never led to public agitation, which has turned into a national outcry with the shout of load shedding timetable. We need ECG has about 33,000 distribution transformers within its network. Even if the 360 transformers are overloaded, that cannot be the cause of recent erratic power supply throughout the country. And they say that it's worth to note that at the time the bulk supply points are damped or ECG is asked to pick limited load, power supply transmitted to ECG is far less than what is available. This is a question that the system operators needs to answer. This is coming from the PURC. And it says that it will be recalled that when the government of Ghana was struggling to finance the IPPs, ECG intervened with a regular payment that was acceptable to them to date. Since then, the IPPs chamber has not been threatening the good people of this country. All right, so this rather is coming from the Public Utilities Workers Union of Ghana, not PURC, and this is their statement on the power outages that we experience in the country. And they are appealing to the system regulator to address these issues at the earliest possible time. Again, coming from the Public Utility Workers Union of Ghana. This is a pause on Joy News. We'll take a short break and we shall be back. This is your election headquarters, and of course, we are still live on a pulse here on Joy News. Now, the Methodist Church Ghana has urged the Electoral Commission to ensure fairness and neutrality throughout the period before and post stages of the upcoming general election to ensure peace prevails, imploring political parties and independent candidates to refrain from using inflammatory and abusive language during their campaigns. Presiding Bishop of the Methodist Church Ghana, Most Reverend Dr. Paul Kwabena said all hands must be on deck to protect the peace we enjoy as a country. He spoke at the annual Easter News Conference here in Accra.
As we approach the general elections in December 2024, let us all resolve to eschew tendencies that will tend to compromise the peace of the country before, during, and after the elections. In that regard, it is incumbent upon all the stakeholders in the process to be minded in their duty to the state. To the Electoral Commission, they must be manifestly seen to be a fair and neutral umpire in all the processes leading to, during, and importantly, after the elections. To the security personnel, they should be professional and impartial judges to engender trust in the electoral process. To our political parties and independent candidates, they should be measured in their communication and engagement, embracing inclusive language and avoiding intemperate, abusive, and offensive language in their campaigns. To the media, as always, we will call on you because you are very significant and play a role. You have to avoid sensational reportage, providing and using your platforms to create avenues for peace. In the spirit of peace.
Well, on the controversial Sexual Human Rights and Family Values Bill, Presiding Bishop of the Methodist Church of Ghana, Most Reverend Dr. Paul Kwabena indicated plans to meet with President Akufo-Addo regarding the fate of the bill.
We all started this journey together, and we sent our proposals to the body that is to take our laws and see to what is good for us as a nation. The churches, the mosque, the traditional rulers, we all came together. We sent our proposals to them, and we asked that they should look at it. This is the voice of Ghanaians, and they have spoken, and it is unanimous that Ghanaians are not in for any LGBTQ, and that is it, and that is our stand, and we still stand by it. Now we are praying that the president will also give his assent to it, and so that it becomes what Ghanaians have asked for. We are also planning to come up with a paper so that we are planning to meet the president at the Jubilee House so that we can all think about the best way to go on this thing. And there are other things which maybe I need not disclose here.
And we wait for the outcome of that meeting they are hoping to hold with President Akufo-Addo at Jubilee House on the fate of the anti-gay bill. But let's talk about air quality now, because residents along the Fankor-Pokuasin Road are grappling with a dense dust cloud generated by ongoing road construction. The air pollution is causing a range of health problems that have alarmed health experts. It is a problem shared by communities across Ghana wherever road construction is taking place. As Air Clean reporter Mark Rashali reports, community members are urging authorities to frequently dampen the dust road and find a solution to their predicament.
The Fankor-Pokuasin in Sawam Highway has become a dust-choked battleground, leaving residents and workers here grappling with air pollution. The stretch spans more than 30 kilometers and ferries thousands of commuters daily. After enduring years of a road plagued with potholes, this road rehabilitation has become a new inconvenience for the community.
So when they started this road, the dust is worrying us too much. It worries me when I dress up to go to work and I get to work. It seems my attire or my dress will be in a dead form.
Air pollution is a growing problem across the world, especially in fast-growing cities like Accra. Pollutants from vehicle exhaust, factories, and waste burning are sickening many Ghanaians and leading to nearly 30,000 premature deaths a year, according to the World Health Organization. Air pollution is a major cause of lung diseases like asthma and pneumonia, but it also leads to blindness, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and birth defects. Roadworks here were badly needed. People had endured potholes that had made the trip difficult for years. The construction is expected to continue until December 2024. Roadworks like this are a problem across Ghana. In hot, dry months, dust kicked up blanketed communities around it, causing a range of serious health problems. Some that might be with people for life.
Over here, just in front here, we have some hairs in the nose that serve to trap particles in the air, particulate matter in the air.
Dr. Kwabena Ejenim Boaten works as a resident ear, nose, and throat surgeon at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. He says dust can be so small and so overwhelming that it gets into the lungs and bloodstream.
And then it goes on into the skin in the nose over here. This reddish part that you see. It's a place that has a very big surface area to help in conditioning the air, making it warm enough for the body, and it also serves to trap some of the particles that may have escaped from here over there. Now, in its attempt to do that, that is when, by contact with some of the allergens, then this nasal cavity, as in your nose, would react and be producing the itchiness that we talked about earlier, the nasal congestion, etc.
It's no surprise many people have chosen to wear a mask. Health experts say that's good. Masks are one way to reduce inhalation of dangerous pollutants. Reducing exposure to dust is also important, especially for vulnerable groups like children, the elderly, and those with existing health problems. Fise is one of many communities along the 30-kilometer road. Elvis Gadose is a heavy-duty truck mechanic here. He says on some days, the intensity of the dust makes it difficult to work.
I've been coughing, sake of the dust. As you can see my workshop here, my workshop is near the road, and there's a whole lot of the dust, and you can't be at the roadside and be working sake of how the road is. The dust is hot, causing us a lot of tough time.
It's not just adults who are affected. Hegai Bamari is an expected mother.
That's why I always put on the mask. Because if I don't put on the mask, when I reach home now, my throat will be paining me. I have to take in some Mentos before I be up. But right now that I'm wearing the mask, I don't get that thing again. I don't have that effect again. The dust is too much. Sometimes you work
Hegai sells nose mask along the dusty road. She's not the only one made sick by the dust here. Experts say pollutants may pass to Hegai's unborn child, risking birth defects and lifelong problems. Hegai knows this, but she says she has no choice.
Always I go on for checkups because of my pregnancy. Always I go, they will be checking me, they say I'm okay. Sometimes I will be having a cold, they will give me medicine. But I can't stay in the house. I have to come back still and work. And all is because of the dust.
At a nearby pharmacy, the severity of the impact on the people here is clear.
With sore throat, cold, and then cough. Some of them complain the dust because they sit in cars, they don't wear nose mask, so the dust goes directly into them, so the place is dusty and all.
Angela is a pharmacy assistant. Since the construction started, she says they have witnessed an increase in the number of dust-induced complications in the area.
For now, it's just the cough, sore throats, and the cold that we see. But then, looking at a long period of time, it could lead to other complications. We tell them they should drink water more and then get a nose mask if they are around the area and it's dusty.
Dr. Carlos has been monitoring the impact of air pollution on Ghana's growing population. He's the program manager of the Occupational and Environmental Health Unit at the Ghana Health Service. He says the effects of dirty air are far-reaching for many groups of Ghanaians.
We know that the children, usually are more vulnerable because their lungs are not well developed, and they stay closer to the ground where you have some of these pollutants in higher concentration. So they are more vulnerable, as well as the aged, the elderly, who are also not able to handle the effects of this air pollution, as well as the strong adults. Then also, you can talk about those who have pre-existing chronic lung diseases, chronic obstructive lung diseases. These are exacerbated when they are exposed to air pollution.
The WHO estimates that 99% of the world's population is breathing polluted air. Children and the elderly are most at risk when exposed to these pollutants. And UNICEF is concerned, especially for children in Ghana. Dr. Yimano Chemantin Amoa is a health specialist with UNICEF.
If you look at pregnant women, it has an impact on them, on the developing baby in the womb, on when the babies are born. They may have low birth weight, some die, children have pneumonia. So even 50% of children who die from pneumonia, it is from air pollution.
Dr. Ejenim Boati warns that these residents face an increased risk.
There are some tumors in the nose that can be attributed to the kind of air that you've been exposed to. In the throat also, once again, depending on the kind of air quality, when you are dealing with periods when the air is so dry, carrying with it a lot of dust and other things, there are you are likely to have more infectious things happening in the throat by way of these things. So within this period, for instance, that we have a lot of dusty wind blowing around, there's a greater likelihood that you have some of these, some of the particles in the air making their way as far down into your lungs. For children, sometimes because of the inflammation that's going on in the nose, this back of the nose also becomes congested, and this back of the nose connects by a certain tube here that we call auditory tube to the middle ear, and once that allows transmission of germs from that back of the nose to the middle ear and causes infections of the middle ear. Yes, so that is one of the things that children are susceptible to.
The woes of some people are far from over. The dry conditions have worsened the situation. Analyst with the Clean Air Fund, Victoria Wusu-Teria, says the weather is expected to remain dry until the end of the month.
From research too, we found that during February we have all reached the peaks and the peak of the Harmattan. So mostly the dust levels, concentration levels are quite high in February. And then along the way, getting to the latter parts of February, it reduces.
Resident engineer on the project, Engineer Kwabena Bimpon, says they cannot be blamed for the dust pollution that has enveloped the area, although he admits they have challenges suppressing the dust.
In Harmattan, we all know that we have those issues. So to attribute it entirely to our project, I think it's a little bit, if it's not disingenuous, maybe it is stretching the issue too far. But then I acknowledge that we may also have had some level of impact on the general environment. before December, we didn't have any challenge. We were suppressing, dust. Dust is the major issue. We were suppressing dust with water, bowsers. But then sometime in January, we had a little bit of a challenge where a lot of our water bowsers failed us in terms of mechanical failures. And we resorted to employing the private tankers to help us. But that wasn't enough. So for about 2 weeks, we had a challenge with dust pollution. And of course, that coupled with the weather, because we are in the Harmattan season, and that really messed us up. Initially, we tried to have some other chemicals added to the water to reduce, and of course, to ensure that the water stays on the road. Unfortunately, we were not successful with those chemicals, even though they were expensive.
During our visit to the area, a water tanker was seen spraying water on the dusty road, but it doesn't do much.
So this is the main road that leads to Amasaman, Pokwase and its environs. Well, there are efforts to try and rehabilitate this road and make it more trouble. But in the interim, the dust from the area is disturbing residents a lot. At this point, I have to wear my nose mask because it's very dusty in this area. A few minutes ago, a water tanker sprinkled water on this dusty road to try and reduce the quantum of dust that comes out of this road when the drivers ply it. Now, the road is wet, but it's only been 10-15 minutes and it's already drying up.
The residents are urging authorities to consistently dampen the road throughout the construction process. Engineer Bimpom says that they are currently increasing the fleet of water tankers to improve the dust suppression measures.
We resorted to increasing the frequency as opposed to using chemicals that would ensure that the dust, is suppressed for a considerable time, and then we don't have to have that frequency that we envisage. So now we are increase it and increase the number of water bowsers. Now we have about 14, on the road. It used to be about 9 initially, but as a result of the challenges that we're having, we've increased it. We are continuously monitoring the air quality and when I say air quality, we are not only talking about dust, but then there are other greenhouse gases which are being monitored, emissions from our vehicles. And here I'm not talking only of our vehicles, but also generally, because when there's traffic, there's an increase in the greenhouse gases. So yes, we are looking at all of this.
This story was a collaboration with New Narratives. Funding was provided by the Clean Air Fund. The funder had no say in the content of the story. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
And let's stay with the environment, because on today's edition of Joy News Series Field Exhibition, we turn our attention to the Aladuna community, where residents use an open gutter as a makeshift dumping site for all manner of waste. And my colleague Suti Abuchi was there and has come through with this report.
Between Nima and Newtown, with a particular focus on the settlements adjacent to the residence of President Akufo-Addo. Human dignity collides with desperation. This is the Aladuna community, where approximately 500 people call an open gutter their makeshift waste disposal site. For Amagbeto, a resident of 2 decades, it's a daily reminder of their struggles with waste management and the stinging neglect by government. He speaks of an absence of proper waste management infrastructure with a heavy heart.
Everybody put rubbish in the gutter. Even I'm fighting with people here. They come and shit here all the time. Every night they came and put over dinner for giraffe. Alaba enye nuika edenafu enyo na nwa tamaro na dogo na po ma ta ga dunu. When you watch the forward there, you can watch it there. the Kayayo people, they always come there. Over Nafmasan and the other side. Nova, New Katao Kocho Malatai. Their pampers, their everything, they dump it to the gutter there. They don't have any place to dump it. So they just put it inside. So for me to the Kukuna government, I do agree no labadi. The area man no be no saver, no jagbagba. But what the Belonu Akona Amoyokata area. Umaga global yo hogalo sio. Nobody yo hogalo share a food.
But it's not just the stench of refuse that hangs heavy in the air. Across recurring floods, a menacing spectre threatened to wash away what little semblance of stability they cling to. As the rains draw near, one can almost feel the collective anxiety gripping the community, a community already scarred by the memory of the devastating June 3rd flood disaster.
Iso tokwa de enye ize kra June 3rd kwampo mi line wo me dem June 3rd a nsuo to ye no enye asem ketwa me ma ne nyina ye fridge e bibia say ye ibi kwa me nana flower krampo wato de ye bro machine edwuma no eno so say ye June 3rd ye line wo ye dem sese a aban bia meboa ye obibie mu nti nsuo to de enye ize kra wa ha sei etumi yiri saa na ba ye dem wo ne nyina ne abobo ye nyama ebi wana ye de ma tutu fridge no so gota no ye tu nsuo gum ye tu bola sugum e de no kra de meka ese bola bie ni ase container bie ni ha bola kan be fa ase nti ye de ne ye sesa ye bola ye de begu yin sanka bola ka ba ye de begu bola kanim ese bola ka bia ma nti ye de begu gotem ebi wa ye de begu payment no so ne ya hye ya shia ne ya pregu gotenim me ne aban na eben aban otime huni anya me to downstairs aban so to downstairs me ne sheben me fa ase amakwa aba ha nti aban to me ya baabi na waja ha to on mu ne that me say onju ya ho.
Living so precariously close to the gutter with no proper waste management system in sight, Ejewe's voice trembled as she recalled the horrors endured. Dosu, another resident here at Aladuna, his tone tinged with frustration and righteous anger, joined in the conversation to demand government to give them some answers. Where are the funds allocated for the sanitation initiatives? Because they haven't seen any.
June 4, June 3rd, so nina ye brewa ye got a cry the toilet and just a mobile show mukro upon bones toilet edemu national toilet. Oh, abani the SMC in Becca baby children crap on ye. That's the number one on ye because ye bre de bia mufa ye bre ya can adum TV.
President Akufo-Addo's pledge to transform Accra into Africa's cleanest city by 2020, later extended by former Sanitation Minister Cecilia Dapa to 2024, now stands as a stark reminder of unfulfilled promises, as slogans like Year of Sanitation, Keeping Ghana Clean agenda, and making Accra the cleanest city fade into obscurity. The reality of filth encroaching upon the cityscape becomes even more glaring. But it's not just about cleaning streets or clearing drains. It's about restoring dignity, reclaiming hope, and honoring the humanity of every individual who calls this Aladuna community home. It's time to hold our leaders accountable and demand tangible action to address the sanitation crisis plaguing our communities. For Joy News, I'm Sweetie Abochi.
This is the pause here on Joy News, and let's return to our earlier story about the power crisis in the country, if you like. And there is a new development to this matter. And some few minutes ago, I spoke to the PURC, Dr. Obute, and he indicated that ECG is yet to provide some answers to some questions that they posed, and they don't know when that response will come from the ECG. The ECG has only responded to one of the questions that they asked of the power, and had to deal with the provision of announcement about the power outages. Now, the PURC statements that is finalizing regulatory action on the latest development. Shortly, we'll be getting some clarity from energy experts on what is likely to happen. But just this is a fluid situation, and we have just received a statement from the Public Utility Workers Union, PU, raising the issue with how the PURC is proceeding with the situation. Let me bring in now, and I'm privileged to say we have Mr. Michael Nyantachi, General Secretary of PU. Mr. Nyantachi, good afternoon and welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon.
So let me just ask of your assessments of what we have experienced in the last few months, the power situation in the country. From the perspective of PU, what do you make of this? And what will be your initial, statement on what is happening in the country?
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. From our perspective, yes, there's no doubt that for the past few weeks, there have been some erratic interruptions in the power supply. But the way and the reasons being attributed appears to be pointing the blame at ECG. And that's where our members are, and that is where we have some concern, and we feel that this matter should not be looked at from a very limited scope. It must be looked at from the broader perspective of the challenges within the energy sector. And so we have put out this statement trying to draw PURC and other key stakeholders, as well as the general public's attention to some of the critical issues that needs to be addressed, especially from the angle of PURC as a regulator, so that everybody is clear about the issues that we are being confronted with.
But from PU's perspective again, are you happy or you have reservation about the way PURC is going about this matter?
Yeah, we have some reservation about the way PURC is going about this matter. You recall that one of the orders that PURC even gave or recently in connection with this issue was about asking for some form of a timetable for the maintenance schedule of ECG in connection with the so-called 630 transformers. Yes. So we do not think that the 630 transformers are the core issues, because with ECG operating over or around 33,000, it will be very, very difficult to make any postulation that is because of this 630 defective transformers that is causing any such erratic power supply.
So what could be the issue?
We think that the issue relates more, and that is where we thought the regulator could provide more information, either asking the system operator, that is GridCo, to provide periodic information on availability of power, and anytime they are asking ECG to either take some BSPs off, or when the GridCo are compelled to dump some of the BSPs, they should not just do it and sit down. They should be able to also provide information to the general public that because there is a load limitation or something, that is why this BSP or this quantum of power is being taken off from the grid. And it doesn't appear that it's just ECG, which is at its whim and caprices, just turning off the power.
All right. But Mr. Nyantachi, let me highlight some aspect of your statement. He says that The question that needs to be answered is should not PURC as a regulator be requesting data from the system operator on outages of BSPs, that's the bulk supply points, to avoid the speculation by the good customers of WCG of deliberately denying them of power supply, which is critical for socio-economic development. Do you suspect sabotage here?
I wouldn't use the word sabotage, but I think there is the need for some clarity if proper data is made available so that every objective person can make the right inference and know that it is not any deliberate act on the part of ECG to deny people of power, which is critical for everybody.
And you have so much knowledge and experience in this sector. Let me ask you a pointed question. Are we in power crisis?
Power crisis, definitely once there are challenges with supply, I think we cannot run away from the fact that there is some form of a crisis. But as to the nature and the quantum or the extent of that crisis, it is where the regulator together with the system operator can provide us more information that will enable everybody to have a clear picture, because this erratic situation now everybody is talking about is Doomsaw back. Are we going back to the Doomsaw era where people are calling for a timetable and all those things? So if we have adequate information and data, I think it will make everybody have a clearer picture of what is happening in the system.
But for you, ECG cannot take the ultimate blame in this situation.
No, I don't think it's a fair conclusion by any objective analysis.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Nyantechi is the General Secretary of PUL. PUL is a Public Utilities Workers Union. This is a pause here on Joy News. With me, Elton Bro. We'll take a short break. We shall be back. Here on Joy News, a pause. For more stories, log on to our website, myjoyonline.com. My name is Elton Brobe. Coming up is America Decides, and Dr. H.S. Kanku is here with me. Doctor, you're welcome.
Much, Elton. How are you doing?
Good. So take it over.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Welcome to America Decides. We're bringing you updates on what has been happening in the past week on that front. Well, believe it or not, Donald Trump has been given a reprieve. A New York Court of Appeals has blocked the $454 million settlement that Donald Trump was due to pay this Monday. And if he hadn't paid that money, they would have begun seizing his assets to make up for it. However, the appeals court had ruled and lowered the bond that Trump was expected to have posted. All the way from $454 million to $175 million. And further, he also extended the due date by 10 days. So that's some breathing room for Donald Trump. Very welcome news. But the fact still remains that if Trump comes up with the revised amount for the bond payment, it will guarantee an appeal hearing, warding off any attempts by the state of New York to seize his assets in order to defray his multi-million-dollar debt. It will be recalled that a New York court found Donald Trump and his business empire liable for corporate fraud last month, slapping them with nearly $500 million in damages. So this is where we are now with that particular issue. So Donald Trump getting more time to make that payment. There's also news that he's trying to gather money from other places. His social media network that he formed also has gone public, earning a bit more on his side. So hopefully he's able to come up with that. We can only wait and see what happens with it. So that's on that particular side. But how's the race looking like between him and Joe Biden? So we do have some graphics to show you, and we can have that up now, where according to a recent poll released by Gallup, Joe Biden has a lower approval rating than any of his predecessors at this point in their first term. Biden continues to struggle in the polls, especially in the battleground states, where his successes are crucial, or his successes, I beg your pardon, are crucial to his re-election chances. There's also a CNN poll that has Trump ahead of him in Michigan by 8 points. And if you know the terrain, Michigan is very critical to the success of any presidential electoral contest in the US. And the poll suggests a dead heat in other battleground states such as Pennsylvania, where both candidates have won on their respective paths to the White House. So remember when Trump became president, he had to win Pennsylvania. When Biden became president, he had to win Pennsylvania as well. So these are very critical states. So this is where the polls are with that. If you look at the graphics and all of the polling that has taken place, you'd realize that there's a very, very graphical representation of this particular state of the race. So now that we've caught up with that, we continue with our weekly exploration of issues dominating the election cycle. A number of issues have come up already, and we'll try to go deeper into them. The first one is Professor Sean Perry-Giles of the University of Maryland, who has spoken previously on other issues. But one of the major issues she has touched on is something that we can identify with here in Ghana as well, which is the challenges that females, or the hurdles that females have to face when participating in leadership contests or in American politics. This is an issue that has come up here as well, and let's listen to Professor Sean Perry-Giles of the University of Maryland. She's the department chair of the Communication Studies Department there in College Park. Let's listen to her. And what do you think are some of the major hurdles that they have to negotiate, especially because of how they frame themselves, the language they use, the rhetoric? I know there's an issue about the double blind in female politics and all of that. What are some of these things and how they can?
Well, historically, politics were seen as the sphere of men, and that women who got involved in politics, like in the 19th century in the U.S., were really debased. And so the suffragists, for example, were treated as if they were men and treated as if they were crazy. So you still see a legacy of that somehow women are trespassing into this masculine area. And that's changed, but not at the presidential level. And I think on one hand, women have to show that they're politically sophisticated. But if Hillary Clinton faced this, she was very politically sophisticated and knew the issues inside and out, but then she was branded as not likable. Nobody liked her. So then she had to show that she was likable, and if you show you're likable, then it seems like you're being disingenuous. Like, are you a policy wonk who is very hardcore politically focused, or are you trying to show that you can have conversations and be like one of the women who's at a coffee club? It's like that those seem irreconcilable. And ultimately, one of the things I've studied most is the role of authenticity in American politics, and women are usually judged as inauthentic. And I think partly because of the history that women have not historically been seen as political leaders, and because they have to be these things that men don't have to do. You don't hear as much about men and their likability.
True.
Whereas political women are often dubbed as unlikable.
So that was Professor Sean Perry-Giles, University of Maryland, College Park, Department of Communication. In addition to this, there was a conversation that we had with Professor Gloria Ayi. She's at the Harvard University at the Kennedy School there. So she also spoke on the state of racism. Professor Gloria Ayi, Harvard University, speaking on state of racism in the U.S.
Generally, people have been really concerned about the state of racism in America, especially in the Obama era. There was this whole notion of the end of racism or the post-racial era, but it looked like it has only gone up, to some extent. What would you say is your own assessment of the state of racism in the U.S.?
So it really depends on how we're trying to assess levels of racism. Whether we're looking at institutional racism or structural or systemic racism versus more overt depictions or expressions of racism from perhaps individuals. What I would say is that in decades past, it became more inappropriate and unacceptable to express overt racist attitudes just publicly. But we've seen a regression in recent years, in the past few years, in that for that issue specifically, where you can see some elected officials blatantly spewing racist ideologies. We do see that happening. Also with social media and
So that was Professor Gloria Ayi at the Harvard University speaking on a few emerging issues such as racism in the US. It's going to be a major topic coming up in this election, especially with the rhetoric coming out from the side of Donald Trump and the Democrats seeking to make some capital out of that as far as minority narratives are concerned. So we'll be looking forward to how this pans out throughout the race as well. So this brings us to the end of our weekly roundup on what's happening on that side as far as politics in America is concerned. We will come your way again next week with further updates on events happening on the American elections. For Joy News' HSC Kanku for America Decides.